What's up, guys? It is Wednesday. I sound really loud. Hopefully, I sound okay. I just got like really loud sound in my earphones here. But it's Wednesday, 7 o'clock. It's going to be an exciting show. Alyssa is not going to be joining us tonight. She is out, spray tanning people or spray tanning the world. I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't know what she's doing. I think she's on her way home. She had a big work day, but I always make fun of her for the spray tans and stuff. But anyway, we are going to have a fantastic show. My guest is probably my arch nemesis from the 2023 season. But first, I want to give a shout out to 660 Marketing. Guys, if you haven't already joined the private Facebook group, please do. I share tips on how to get sponsors. So join the Facebook group. I share a tip every week and share some tips on some other experts in the industry on how they get sponsors as well. So 660 Marketing, again, find us on Facebook and, learn some stuff. And that way you guys don't have to pay for your own racing. Again, if you like this show, please comment, ask questions, subscribe, share it as much as you can, share it everywhere. So I greatly appreciate it. Billy said, always looking forward to your lives. Thanks, buddy. Billy's a good friend of mine from back home, Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. So yeah, I'm not originally from the DMV. I'm actually from the Northeast, Maple Grove and Island Dragway were my home tracks back in the day. But yeah, so some news in the racing world. Heard John Force is doing better. He's still not 100%, but he's getting better. His daughters have been sharing a lot of pictures with him, in at the hospital, rehab center, things like that. So we wish John Force the best. And another tragic event that happened this past weekend, Bill Janke, he raced in Top Sportsman, passed away in a terrible accident. So prayers to the Janke family. I didn't know him personally, but it's been all over the new, the drag racing news. And it's just terrible when a drag racer loses their lives on the track and things like that. So terrible, terrible thing. But we wish them the best. So yeah, my guest, I'm going to show a video of him whooping my ass back in the 2023 season. Give me 1 second, guys. I gotta get a handle on this. I gotta get somebody to do this for me. There we go. Why isn't it coming up? There we go. All right. So this was back in this is at Cecil County Dragway. I don't know if this was. I think it was 2023. I don't know. He'll probably correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this was the beginning of 2023 season. This was a grudge race that we had, and we did the grudge race in round 1 of the shootout. So it's funny. Like after this race, we like drew each other like 16 times in 2023. So we kind of jinxed ourselves. We raced each other a lot. So I'm going to play this, and it was super close. So you see the level of disappointment, my crew chief's face, Eric Gold, or tuner, I should say, not crew chief. Yeah, that was fun. So without further ado, I'm going to bring my guest on, Patrick Estevez Jr. How are you, sir?
I'm good. How are you?
Pretty good, pretty good. Where are you at right now? You at home?
Yeah, I'm at home in my room. Yep.
Oh, nice. Is that the Love Shack?
Yeah. New home. Just moved in a week ago, literally.
Oh yeah, you guys did say you were getting a new house and stuff. How's How's that transition been?
So far so good. Still got boxes everywhere and stuff
Yeah.
cluttered, but that's normal.
Yeah, you got to work and stuff and try to fit in that stuff on top of your work and you know, um, it is what it is. Busy life, you know what I mean?
Yep.
Um, so so yeah, as you know, how did you get started in racing?
Uh, well, pretty much I was born into it. I had no choice. But
No, same
my
thing with
mom
me.
and my dad, both my parents, they grew up at the racetrack. My mom was racing when she was a teenager. My dad been racing forever because my grandfather started racing back in the '70s, and I was pretty much born into it. And when I was 8 years old, of age, I got in a junior dragster right away and
Gotcha.
moved up the ranks since then. So
I think I have a picture of your grandfather's car. Is it this one?
yep, that's my grandfather's car.
Okay. And tell me a little bit about it. It was is that a Falcon?
So that's a '65 Falcon. Uh, when I was a kid, that was, even now, it's still my favorite car to watch go down the racetrack. But
Yeah.
he passed away, and since then the car's been sitting. But we really want to get it out. But uh, we used to go to all nostalgia races with it,
Right.
travel the East Coast with it, and I pretty much grew up working on that with my dad, my grandfather, and the whole family. We'd go traveling and go to shows, and it was awesome. That car had a 706 in it with a 5-speed Lenko, so I had a
Oh,
clutch in it.
wow.
Uh,
That must have been fun to drive.
oh yeah, it's basically a pro stocker, but old school. So
What class was it in?
he mainly did exhibition races, so he
Okay.
got paid to show up and make passes. He put on a show, and
What are we doing wrong?
well, exactly. we have to pay. We have to pay to make runs.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. We're doing something wrong. Um, but so you have an enormous. So did you, before I get into that, did your mom and dad meet from drag racing?
So my parents met. My mom used to work at the speed shop that sponsored my dad and my grandfather. So
Get out.
my dad used to go in a speed shop and see my mom working at the counter, and he made sure to only buy one part every time he went to the store. So he had multiple trips to the speed shop, and eventually it just, he took her on a date, and they went to the racetrack, and you know, there it was.
Oh,
That's
so
how
he
they met.
took her on a date at the to the racetrack.
Yep, pretty much. Yep.
Nice, nice. It was meant to be. That's awesome. That's a great
Yep.
story. Yeah. So you have an enormous, in my opinion, one of the biggest racing families in the DMV area. Um, you know, Tell me more about that. I know your girlfriend races, your sister races, your brother-in-law races. So tell me a little bit about what everybody else is doing, and like what class and things like that.
Yeah, so we grew up bracket racing. I mean, obviously that's the inexpensive way to go racing. Plus, the junior dragsters is where the kids start.
Right.
So early on, my sister, she was the first one that started racing the junior dragsters. Then my cousin got one. Then my other cousin got one when he got of age, and then I was the fourth grandkid to get a junior dragster. So there's four grandkids plus our first cousins, two more cousins. They had junior dragsters. So at a time there were six Estevezes that raced in a junior dragster class. Plus my dad was racing at the time, and he had two cars that he would race. Uh, and I mean, now we're all in big cars. I have one. My sister has one. Now my brother-in-law has one. My dad's got a bracket car. It just, I don't even know how many people in the family and at this point. There's just so many of us. It's
Yeah. So this is your sister's, right?
Yep, that's my sister's car.
Nice.
We built that
And
one. We built that car. I think it's been 8 years ago now.
oh, okay. And
Yep.
is that a small block Ford setup?
Small block Ford. Yep.
Yep. And then I think this is your girlfriend's car, right?
Yep. That's my girlfriend's car. Yep.
And what's the setup in that?
That's got a 6.2 LS turbo 400. just a bracket car, nothing crazy,
Fuel
but
injected still?
it's got Holly EFI on it.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. And then this is yours, right? Your bracket car.
Yeah, that's my car now. That used to be my dad's bracket car, but he gave it to me basically, and uh, I've won a lot of races in it. He's won a lot of races in it. Uh, he originally built that in 1988. That's when he
Oh
first
wow.
got it out. So he
Wow.
was only, 20 years old when he started racing it, and
Wow.
so it's still going.
So was the shop that your mom worked at, was that Speed Unlimited?
Yeah, Speed Unlimited. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, they closed up, what was it, like a few years ago, something
I think
like
it's
that?
I think 3 or 4 years ago now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
They were around for a long time. Um and then this is the same car, right?
Yep. That's it now. I've literally just painted it. I guess less than 2 weeks ago.
Gotcha.
It
You did
wa-
it all yourself?
yeah, that was the first car I've ever painted.
Oh
So
boy.
I do everything else. I do all the fabrication and all that myself. So that was the first time painting a car, and it came out pretty good. And,
Nice. Well, it's all in the prep work. I hate it. The
oh yeah,
sanding and all that stuff. The actual spraying part is not. Uh, I mean, it's time consuming, but not as time consuming as like all the prep to get it ready to spray.
oh absolutely. And this is
Yeah.
my first time, and I don't know. I'd probably have over 200 hours in it easy. I mean, there's a lot of
Holy
time
crap.
in it, but it was my first time, and I saved my money. Has a $12,000 paint job that I didn't have to pay somebody. So
Yeah, exactly. And that's why they're so expensive because, labor costs, and all that fun stuff. They're putting a lot of time into it. You know
oh
what I
yeah,
mean?
yep.
And then this is your dad's, right?
That's my dad's newest truck. I think he bought it 3 years ago now. Uh, he bought that because it sits up a little higher than his Mustang, and he's had so many back surgeries that that's something he can get in and out of easily and race. It's got a swing out bar, and that's the first race car he's ever bought and not built. So it was a little weird for him, but made
Gotcha.
sense at the time. And so far, that truck's been awesome. Since he's gotten it, everybody that's raced it has won in it. Just done a really good job in it.
That's awesome. And then what's this one?
So that is Dino Don Nicholson's old pro stock car that so way back in the 70s and 80s, my grandfather used to crew chief for Dino Don and pro stock, when pro stock, kind of first started.
Right.
And my grandfather was a crew chief for him. They did every night they were in the garage working on a pro stock. For the longest time, Dino Don, lived at my grandparents' house, while my dad was a kid, and my dad and my uncle would get kicked out of their bedrooms, and he'd stay in their rooms, and when they would race on the East Coast, he was living there, and pretty much, that's just how far back it goes. It was, my grandfather wanted to do pro stock, but he didn't have the budget, so helping on a team,
Right.
that's the closest thing to it, and
Right.
just
So most people know you from racing, obviously, this car, right?
yep.
Black Friday. Tell me about the history on that car. Kind of how you started in it, what the setup was when you first started in it, because it wasn't always a turbo car. I know that.
Yep.
So, how did that come about?
So I guess I think it was the end of 2019 or maybe 2020. The owners of the car, David and Paul, first of all, they showed me a picture of the car, and they were thinking about buying it, and it was small block nitrous, and they were like, we're going to buy it. It's a good deal. So they bought the car. Uh, Obviously I've been racing a long time. They're good family friends of ours, and
Mhm.
he they had asked me. They were like, "Hey," well, actually, they asked my dad. They said, "Hey, do you think Patrick would want to drive this car?" And my dad was like, "Well, is the car safe?" And they're like, "Well, it's a very good car." We went and looked at the car, and they were like, "Yeah, he'd drive it." So at
Right.
that time, I think I was 19 years old, and they were like, "Well, does he know what he's doing? And first, they were like, well, he's lightweight. He's a bracket
Right.
racer, so he can hit the tree.
Right.
And all the cars lined up, so they asked me to drive it. And we took it out the first time. And the one owner, David, he drove it. We took it to Capitol, and we made 2 runs. And on the second run, it blew up. I mean, this thing was brand new. On the second run, it tore a piston up.
Wow.
And it was done. That was the end of it. I was supposed to drive it. That was the first, he was shaking it down. I was supposed to hop in it.
Right.
But on the second run, it was gone. So it took a while to get it fixed. There were some problems with the engine builder. So we got it back together. We go to the racetrack. Now I'm driving it. I do 2 burnouts. Something ain't right. We back it up. We look at it. We figure out the problem. We go. Third run. Do the third burnout. It shoots a valve out the exhaust.
Jesus.
So at this point, it's been like 2 whole years, and we finally got it back together, and we raced it for 1 whole season at nitrous small block, when that's when that class was kind of big. And it ran good, but it was never like super competitive. Part of that was our inexperience. We didn't know what we were doing, but we kind of wore it out. It wasn't fast enough. That class died off.
Right.
Nobody ran it anymore. So we were kind of like, well, what do we do with this thing? Do we fix the nitrous small block? Do we put a big block in it? What do we do? And so the one owner, David, he has the motor that's in the car now. It's a 8.2 deck small block Ford. He's like, dude, I got this turbo motor that was in my all steel glass car that I crashed. He's like, that car is way lighter. We can put it in there and see what it'll do.
Mm-hmm.
And we were like, well, I guess it made the most sense at the time. And then I told him I'd put it in there for him,
Right.
So I swapped it over to turbo and did all the work to it to get it, switched over. That was kind of like the first big, real, job I've ever taken on like that. And
Right.
Basically what it turned into is what you see now. I mean, we took it to the racetrack. We went to the dyno after I got it together and dynoed it, and knock on wood, it's been 2 years and all we've done is change oil and spark plugs. And
Isn't that great?
That motor's 8 years old.
Wow. So you haven't gone through that motor or anything like that? Like,
No, this past winter I took it apart and did a compression check and leak down test on it and checked the valve springs and all that, and it checked out perfect.
wow.
That was after 2023 season of leaning on it. I had probably 80 runs on it, leaning on it, and it checked out good. So we said, well, let's put it back together, and we've been running it this year. So
yeah, that's one of the benefits of my car last year. You know what I mean? Being able just to fuel it up and change oil, change plugs, and off you go. You know what I mean? So
it's crazy. It's nice. It's like a bracket car, but it's fast.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So it's not gonna be like that no more, though.
Nah, yeah, you might have your hands full.
Yeah. Yeah. So you did all the work to it for the most part, like the fabrication stuff. Like, how did you? Because you're a pretty young guy. How old are you now?
I'm 23.
Yeah, 23. So how'd you learn how to do all that stuff? Were you like just self-taught, or did your dad teach you, or?
Self-taught, and growing up, my dad and my grandfather, that's my dad, grew up working for my grandfather, which they worked in a ornamental iron company. So they built rails and staircases and all that. So, I mean, they've been fabricating forever, but both of them, they've always fabricated, built their own race cars, so in the garage watching them, I've learned, from watching them. And then over the years, back in the day, you could stick weld a race car together, and that was a good race car. But nowadays, a race car is like a work of art compared to, so I have a little more patience than them, and I've kind of, a little better, a little more fine tuned than they are. And I liked it, so I started doing it, and I learned as I go,
Yeah.
So
Are you very meticulous?
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a machinist, so I'm a perfectionist, so everything's got to be perfect. So.
Yeah. Don, Don Bangs, him. I was just at the shop today, just talking with him, shooting some content, and seeing my car and stuff. And He's the same way, man. He's like he'll show me some like he showed me like a seat tab, like where my seat was mounted. He's like, that looks like shit. He's like we're redoing that. Like it's like this little tab, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he's like, that shouldn't be like that. We're gonna redo it. So but I get it, when you, especially like, if you're doing your own work and you're kind of, you're at the track and you're not, it's not a show car, but you have it there and people are looking at it. You know what I mean? You don't want people to be like, oh, look at the welds on that or whatever. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
So
the other side of the coin is if you say, well, I did it, a lot of people can't say they did it. So there's that side of it. Sometimes people are like, oh, that doesn't look good. I was like, well, at least I can say I did it myself. You
right,
know, I
right.
have pride in what I do. I don't care. I'm not the best, obviously, but it gets the job done. It works. So
That's awesome. Guys, if you have any questions for Pat, please, type them in the comments. It also drives the algorithm up the more you comment and like and heart things and share it. So please, if you have any questions, don't be afraid to ask. So do you like bracket racing or heads up racing more?
I get that question a lot. Honestly, I love bracket racing. I'll take bracket racing probably any day over heads up racing.
Why do you say that?
I like heads up racing for the fact of, trying to go faster, what does it take to go faster? The racing is fun, going fast is fun, but bracket racing, you got to be good on the start line and at the finish line. And a lot of people don't understand what that means, but I
Yeah.
mean, you do because you bracket race,
Yeah.
Uh bracket racing is, I feel like you're more involved all the way down the track. You take off, you're looking over to see where your opponent's at. You're trying
Yep.
to judge them. You're hitting brakes. You're whopping the gas. You're playing games on them, and you know, it's just a lot more involved and a lot more to go wrong. So I feel like it. Honestly, I feel like it takes more skill than to be good at it. I feel like it takes more skill than heads up. A lot of
I
heads
would
up
probably,
racing.
yeah, I would probably agree with you.
Heads up racing, you can let go to win at least. I mean,
Right.
heads up racing, if you got money and kind of have a little common sense, a lot of times you can win.
Right.
Now, don't get me wrong. I mean, there's good heads up drivers, but bracket racing, people that don't like bracket racing normally aren't good at it or don't understand it.
Yeah.
So, but I
Yeah, I
love
think
bracket racing.
the most nerve-wracking thing about bracket racing is the finish line. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like the light, cutting the tree doesn't make me nervous at all.
Mhm.
Like, do I have my bad days? Yeah, everybody does. But I get more nervous about the finish line, and because either if especially if you're getting chased, you're like, where's he at? Where's he at? You're
Yeah.
always turning your head. You know what I mean? So, it's different for sure. I think that's bracket racing made me a better heads up driver.
Oh yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
And I think heads up racing, driving a fast car, I think it's made me a better bracket racer as well.
yeah,
You know,
they
you get
complement each other.
when you get in a fast door car, then I jump into my slower door car. It's like I'm crawling. It feels like I got all the time in the world to, look over and judge and all that. So, but
Bradley asks, when are you getting married?
I don't know, Bradley. Couple years.
Still young, right?
Yeah. He'll
Well,
probably be
how long have you and your girlfriend been together?
just over 2 years.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, you're about to.
Yeah.
He goes, ha. That's great. So you also drive for this team as well, right?
Yep, that's my uncle's car, Charlie Barnes. He uh
Okay.
he normally races the car in NPC Real Street, which is like a local, heads up class for us. It's like a 480, 490 heads up class around here. And I normally drive the car at World Cup. He's asked me a couple times to drive it, and both times I've driven it, I've won World Cup finals, which is
Nice.
obviously that's a huge race. Uh,
Right.
it's my home track, so it's always cool to race at it for one, and then to win at it both times I race in it. It's really cool. But that's a Turbo Coyote. 3,400-pound car. I think I went a 768 in it last year, that's the fastest the car's been. But
Does he have to be 3,400?
yeah, for the rules, he's got to be 3,400.
Wow,
Yep.
that's heavy.
Because that class was that's like with most of the front wheel drive Honda Civics. So
Yeah.
there's like 8 domestics and like 57 imports. You know what I mean? So
Right.
a lot of carnage, but it's fun to drive. Especially racing the imports and stuff like that. It's just it's different. That's for sure. But
Do they break down a lot in your
oh yeah,
class?
oh
Yeah.
yeah, a lot of waiting.
Yeah. Every time I go to Cecil to test, because Cecil is only 30 minutes for me or whatever, so I go to Cecil to test and stuff. And there's a pretty good amount of import guys that go to test and stuff to test their Civics or whatever. And anytime a Civic is in front of me, I'm like, oh, please don't break,
Oh
because
yeah,
I don't want to be waiting there. You know what I mean, for a long ass
yeah,
time. So I'm always like this. Anytime I'm behind an import, like I'm just like, oh God, please.
yeah. They're
So
definitely annoying. They're definitely annoying when you're trying to race, but I definitely drive. I definitely want to drive one day just to see what it's like to drive one of them front wheel drive
yeah,
one.
yeah. I've never driven a front wheel drive anything on the track.
No, me neither.
So um,
But I definitely would bounce it off the rev limiter.
uh, Dre, is it Dre? Or yeah, Dre said, "What's up, little Pat?" Um, Sammy said, "Move to the next lane." Oh man. So you said you're a machinist, right?
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about that because you kind of like went on your own this year, right, for the first time.
So I just got 2 years in business for myself. Or no, I'm
Oh,
sorry.
okay.
November will be 2 years in business for myself. So
So what all do you do and stuff?
uh so now I have 5 CNC machines I have a business partner. Uh I have 5 CNC machines. I mostly do like government defense work, a lot of stuff for fighter jets and well, a lot of airplane stuff and helicopter stuff, but I do anything. I do all kinds of stuff. Anything that comes through the door, I mostly do. But the big stuff, like if you see a F-16 or a C-5 cargo plane in the air, uh, my parts are on it somewhere, which is pretty cool, I think. But
That's awesome.
uh, when I started working, doing, so I went to college for 8 weeks and left college because I was like, well, this isn't for me. And as soon as I left college, the next week I was working at a place near home that did CNC machining, and they kind of did like an internship at first, but right away they gave me full time position. I worked there for 3 years, kind of learning to trade, and I felt like I was getting taken advantage of. My dad loaned me some money. I bought my own CNC machine, and within 1 year of owning it, I paid off my machine debt, paid him back, put money in the bank, and that's kind of where it went. I started doing it on my own. Met my business partner. His father had a machine shop, and his father passed away, and he was getting ready to sell all the machines. So my dad contacted him because my dad knew his dad, and we got connected. And literally the week after we met, he was getting ready to sell all the machines, and we met like right before that. So
Hmm.
it's been so far so good, but coming up on 2 years, been successful. So
That's awesome. So how do you get all the government work? Do you have to like bid those contracts? Like, how does that all work?
yeah, so there's a lot of the contracts they had in play. My business partner's dad had them already, but
Nice.
we're starting to we've bid on a lot. We've won a lot of jobs. That there's government bid board. You go on there,
Hmm.
you can look at the parts. Uh, you're bidding against a bunch of people, but you know, starting to bid my own work and all that. But it's definitely hard. Bidding has been the hardest part because I don't know. One, I'm new to it, and
Right.
two, I just I want to win everything.
And you don't know like what another company could be like shooting them price wise, right? Like you have
No,
no idea.
I have no
So
clue,
yeah.
and uh, we're not minority, so that makes it harder too.
Mm,
A lot of in the government, woman owned or veteran owned. They get priority a lot of times, so it's hard to compete with those. But there's still jobs out there. There's plenty of work. But
Well, I'm Hispanic. If you want to add me to the
yeah,
payroll, then you could be a minority company.
you think maybe you could
Well, you
classify
guys
as a female too or something?
are kind of Hispanic because you have the last name Estevez, right?
Yes, we're European Spanish. We came from
Right.
Spain. So
Okay. Yeah, they don't count that in the
nah,
government.
we're white.
Billy's laughing. Oh man. So going back to Black Friday, you talked a little bit about the motor setup and stuff. A lot of people don't know that it's stock suspension setup and all that stuff. You know what I mean? I can't believe how fast it goes for what it is.
Yeah,
Yeah. And
nobody does.
yeah.
Not
And
even
like
us.
yeah, but it's funny, like, yeah, it's fast, but a lot of people think like you're super fast and you can take on these like 959 big nitrous,
Oh yeah.
grudge guys and stuff. Like so it's funny to watch or people talk online or whatever. Um what's been your, I guess, your most fun grudge racer to go against? Or maybe like someone who you just wanted to beat so bad and you did.
Uh, I don't know. I mean, when we raced you that one time, that was big. Uh, and then you whooped us every time after that. So that wasn't fun. But
Yeah.
uh, when we go down south, we race, cars like Vendetta. We beat him the one time, whether, was a clean race or not, our win light turned on.
Right.
We race fast cars like Memphis Gangster. He's a big 5-inch nitrous car.
Yeah.
At Orangeburg, we ran against Josie Wales. Just to run against cars like that, he beat us, but I gave him a better race than I thought I could.
Right.
But when you go down south and you're running some of those bears, it's hard to compete, especially with what we have. But racing cars like Magneto, Richard, cars like that around here, man, we're all very competitive. All our
Right.
cars are, somewhat close, and it's always good racing.
Oh yeah.
Most of the time,
I don't think you and I have ever raced and it wasn't like super close, like
no,
to the point where like when the run was done. I don't know about you, but when the run was done, when I was racing you, I had to look up at the clocks to see if I actually won because I had no idea. You know what I mean? So once I passed the finish line, I'm like looking up right away. So
it's always fun, and I like racing against good guys too. We don't complain, and we don't make excuses. We just, man, that was a good race.
Right.
Let's do it again,
Right.
kind of thing. And me and you always did do it again. I mean, we drew each other literally every single time we were at the racetrack. So
yeah, we would go down south to like North Carolina or something, and we would draw each other. Like we would literally be like just throwing our hands up, like this is ridiculous. So
and a lot of the times I felt we were the two fastest cars most of the time, and we always knocked it. Well, I only knocked you off once, and you knocked me off all the other times. But still, we always felt like we were the two fastest cars every time we showed up.
And we always went up against each other first round.
Yep.
I don't think we ever went up against each other in the semis or definitely not in the finals. You know what I mean? That would have been. I would have loved to go up in the finals, like at Bridge Wars or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
But all right. Oh, by the way, are you guys doing Bridge Wars this year?
Yeah, I'll be there.
Nice.
Yep.
Well, there you go, guys. Anybody want a little piece of Black Friday? He's coming to Bridge Wars. Sammy said Bridge Wars coming. Let's have fun. But what happened at I have a little video I wanted to show people. I want you to talk about it a little bit because there was a little controversy going on back in the pit. So hold on one sec. How do I share my screen here? Man, I gotta get a handle on this. Oh, here. No, that's not it. Hold on. Stop screen. Present. There we go. There we go. So that was kind of hard to see But you kind of did like a full 360 down there.
Yeah.
Um, but what I am not with it today. I hold on a second. There we go. So I know you told me something when we got back, because I ran up to check up on you, make sure you're all right. But what did you find? Um,
Um. So the car, over the winter I changed converters, and the new converter has definitely been better, a little more aggressive,
mhm,
and I started fighting the car. It started going hard right once the power was getting put into it. Once I was really shoving the power in, the car started going right. Uh, that pass, I kind of turned it up because I knew Cecil County at nighttime track got good. I put some power in it. That was a grudge race. Uh, car went out. It was on a pass, dead straight. Um, then it just shot hard right, and then it, just correcting the going right, it just lost all the tires and went hard left, spun out, obviously. Tried drifting. That was my first time drifting. Uh, Somehow I kept it off the wall. But since then, it, had a bent wheel. Uh, Thought it broke an axle, but it didn't break an axle. Uh, it was just after that, I was I've been fighting the car all year, kinda, and that was like the last straw. I went under the back of the car, took everything apart, re-squared the four link. Uh, I checked just about everything you could check on the car, broken bars, anything, and I couldn't find any. Nothing was blatantly broken, damaged, wrong, anything like that. So I ended up resetting the rear completely up, the way I would set one up. Not, everybody said, "Oh, it's stock suspension. You're going this fast. You need to put this rear steer in it and move this bar like this." Well, obviously that wasn't working. So I
right.
reset the car up, and we've tested since then, and the car's been working much better, going straight. But that car it's pretty light, uh, and being stock suspension on the rear, uh, that's tough. A
Right.
lot of people don't understand, but that stock sus- cars go fast. Don't get me wrong, but it is a lot harder to go fast on stock suspension than a true four link.
Yeah.
And
Well, what did you find on the shocks though?
so the shocks I had, so I have Mensers on the car. Uh, I got canisters put on them,
Right.
and they've definitely helped. And I've changed the springs on it. The springs were like, it doesn't top the shock out, but it was running out of spring and just riding on the helper spring.
Hmm.
So
Didn't you
I
say like somebody was like messing with them? You think
Well,
somebody
that's
was?
the other thing.
Yeah.
I don't like blaming people, but I got back after that run because the car definitely did something crazy it's never done. I get under the car, I check my before I go to the racetrack, I go over the whole car every time
Mhm.
it goes out to the racetrack. I'm on every aspect of the car. I get back, I crawl under the car just to see, and one shock is on full tight, and the other shock is at where I set it. When I showed up to the racetrack.
Right.
You know, I'm the only one under the back of that car. I'm the only one that makes changes on it. Uh, you know, Strapping a car down, you're not changing shock settings. You know what I
Right.
mean? And I will say, that was Saturday at Cecil. Friday night, I rolled the car out to get the golf cart out of the trailer, and I let the car just sit outside all night long. Not all night long, but while we were watching and stuff like that, the car was sitting out in the pits. So, you know, I should have checked the shocks, I guess, Saturday morning, but I thought they were where they were.
Well, I tagged your dad. I don't know if he showed you because you're not on social media. Your dad is, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Some of your other family members are, but I tagged your dad in something. I think it was like a week ago or something, maybe 2 weeks ago. But basically, it's I want to say it's pretty common, but it's getting more common. People messing with people's shocks,
Mhm.
like fans and stuff, and um, I dare someone to try to mess with my stuff, like, you know what I
Right.
mean? And I catch them. You like, you're not going to walk out of there.
Oh,
You know what I
no.
mean? So, and look at your situation. If that was the case, like that could have been pretty nasty. Luckily, you kept it off the wall and things like that, but that could have been really bad. Like, if people are doing that, they're messing with people's lives. You know what I mean?
Oh,
They
absolutely.
they don't know, especially if you're a fan, and you don't drive a car like that, you don't own a car like that. They don't know exactly how fast you are going. Like you're going super fast. You
Yeah.
know,
Well,
so
that's Saturday at Cecil County. That track's always very good.
yeah,
Track's always on kill. Uh, and all day Saturday, I was struggling, and the car was doing stuff it's never done before, and I can't figure it out.
right,
I'm going over, I'm looking at it, and I crawl under the car and I check the shocks after that. Almost crashing, and like I said, the one shock is on full tight, both settings. I don't change that. I don't run nothing on full tight. I
mhm,
don't want to, and two, I would have never done that. Like I said, I check the car before I leave the garage. Before I put it in the trailer to go to the track.
right,
It's set up for my first run.
right.
And then and to get back and see that, obviously right away I'm thinking somebody sabotaged your car, but without seeing it or whatever, it's hard to say.
Yeah, no, it's if it's abnormal, it probably did happen. You probably didn't even know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you gotta remember when we were at these races, like guys are betting money against you and things like that. You know what I mean? Who knows? You know what I mean? So, um, Billy asks anything new on your on when you're getting your Nunky Johnson back. Um, Pretty soon. I went to the shop today. They have pretty much all the hard stuff already done, all the fabrication. We had to add a bunch of bars to the chassis and stuff like that. So it's all the little stuff now, really. Like Don was working on a new drive shaft tunnel because the one I had was kind of crappy. So he was making a new one, and then just odds and ends, just you know, some plumbing and things like that. But uh, so yeah, pretty soon, pretty soon. What's up, fellas? What's up, Jared? Let me see here. Pat needs to do more live feeds. Luis Martinez, he's a natural. He's like a ninja. You can't find him on social media. So,
No.
or like a CIA agent. So, where did the name Black Friday come from, or was it named already?
No, it wasn't named. The car was new to the owners. When we were small block nitrous, we went to Lions, Tigers, and Bears at uh, uh, Colonial Beach, and for months we were trying to come up with a name uh, for the car, and it was from they wanted to call it the Onion because it always made us cry, because it's breaking all the time.
The
Uh,
Onion.
yeah, they had all kinds of names for it, and uh, at Lions, Tigers, and Bears, they came up to us and said, "Hey, what's the name of the car for the shootout? We have to have a name for the car." And we've never talked about nothing. And the one owner, he goes Black Friday, and we all kind of looked at each other, and it stuck, and we ended up winning that race, and we are like, well, I guess Black Friday is the name, and we were like, man, it's kind of a cool name, it makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yep.
So now we always say, Black Friday, ass kickings on sale, stuff like that, but the name of the card stuck. Uh, we like it.
That's awesome.
Kind of blown up, I guess. I don't know. For a while, everybody, you know, when you win, everybody's on your back,
Right.
but
No, yeah, everybody knows the car, you know what I mean? So,
yeah.
everybody loves it because it's all murdered out and stuff. So, um, Don has the Dexter car up at his shop, which is
Oh
kind
yeah.
of like a replica of yours, kind
Yep.
of. I mean, different, obviously different power plant and things like that, but as far as like the outside, like the wheels, the interior, it's like almost identical to your car.
Yeah, those guys were trying to buy Black Friday car, uh,
Okay.
but we weren't selling at the time.
So is there someone um, you would like to line up against that you haven't already?
uh, I don't know. I really don't know who I feel like I've raced everybody. It seems I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't. There's
Anybody from
nobody
like down south?
down south. I'd love to race some of the fast guys, but I mean, I can't live there.
Right.
We're not that fast. I don't know. There's nobody really I'd like to pick on. You know,
Sammy said Magneto, but I think didn't you guys race OBX, was it?
we raced at uh Maryland, the last grudge race there. We raced.
Right, right, right.
Uh,
Who
we
won that
raced
one? I
first
don't
round.
remember.
Magneto won.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Okay.
We ran them at OBX. I think it was last year.
Yeah, and you won that one, right?
Or
Oh no.
yeah.
No. Or was it a shakedown?
I don't remember when we ran it.
Yeah.
I have no idea. There's so many. Might have been end of last year we ran or something.
Gotcha. Jared, maybe you can correct us on that. I don't remember.
He beat us. He beat us at Maryland this last time we ran them.
Gotcha.
Another good race. It's always a good race with these guys.
Yeah, and that's kind of similar setup. Obviously not same motor setup, but like that's also a stock suspension car,
Yep.
and pretty evenly matched there. Jared said, yeah, he beat us at OBX first round.
Yep.
Okay. Do you have a favorite track to go down?
Darlington. I love going to Darlington.
Yeah. Why is that?
Well, we went there last year and we ended up winning when we went there. But the track's always on kill. The guys there always treat you good. Guy Jeff Miles there, he that's 8 hours away for us. And I called him earlier this year. They were doing a Wednesday rental, and I went down on a Wednesday all the way to Darlington, 8 hours just to test, because you got to go down south to get on a good track most of the time. I mean, tracks up north, they just aren't the same as down south.
Right.
And
Cecil sometimes can be really good, but you have to go on like a radial day or whatever.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And but yeah, Darlington, I love racing Darlington. That's surface is one of the best radial surface, I think. Raced at Orangeburg. Orangeburg's very fast.
Okay.
But I like Darlington. Just everything about it.
I've raced at Darlington, but I never went super fast there. So the last time I raced there was with my 69 Nova, and that thing was like a high 4-second car. So I would love to take the new car there and see what it can do there and stuff. We might test there. I'm not sure. We'll have to see how it all plays out, but
definitely, it's a good track. That, like I said, they'll take care of you. We went there and we were one of the fast. Actually, I think we were the fastest car testing that day. And every time I came up, they were like, "Hey, hold on," and they sprayed and drug the whole 8th mile in front of me every single time I pulled up.
That's awesome.
And I probably made 8 runs, and they did that every single time I pulled up.
Wow.
And like
you made 8 runs?
I made 8 runs. Yep.
And that was like a Wednesday night.
Yeah. Well, it's a Black Friday. It's a bracket car, man. It's gas in it. Charge the battery, cool it off. It's ready to go.
Well, I'm surprised you got that much time in though. Because usually, like on a weekday type of deal, sometimes it's hard to like get like 4 runs in. You know what I mean? So that's awesome. Do you have any idea where you're at in the points in the Big Fred series?
I haven't been keeping up on it. I don't think I'm up high. I've struggled. At Cecil, we went out first round fighting the car. Maryland, we went out first round. I didn't go to Colonial Beach. I'm sure I'm not close, but hopefully to turn that around the rest of the year.
Do you think you'll change the car around at all for next season? Like, do you think you'll make any drastic changes?
I don't know yet. The whole situation with the car is kind of weird right now. For trying to buy the car, see where money's at. I really want to put a 4-link in the back of the car. I know it'll help me a ton, but that little 8.2 deck, that's only going to make so much power, and that's a lot of it too. But that car's set up for a small motor, lightweight motor, so I don't know what I'm going to do yet, but the first thing is probably cut the stock suspension out of it, put a 4-link under it, because that's probably going to help the car, starting line and down track.
Right.
That's probably what'll happen first, and that
Mhm.
might happen this winter. I have to see what happens. That's what needs to happen. I mean,
Yeah.
set
Yeah.
up there's no rules on the stock suspension stuff anymore.
Right.
That stuff's out the window. So
Right. And you're getting to the point, just like in Jared's situation, you're getting to the point where you're at that line where, of transferring over to a 4-link, you know what I mean? It's,
yeah.
car can only take so much with a stock suspension. So,
And the problem with the Black Friday car is it not only is it stock suspension, but it's still got a 8.8 rear under it. So I mean, that's 35 spine axles and an 8.8 compared to even a 9-inch with stock suspension. A 9-inch moves the top bars on a 4-link up 2 inches. So it gives you different bar angles. 8.8, you're stuck with what it is from the factory. You know what I mean? So not having those bar angles, the car doesn't separate as much. Uh, it's not as strong. I don't know
right.
how we haven't blew the rear out of it. Yeah, I'll probably break it first run. Clutch Creek. Now that I said something, but just the 8.8, I don't know if it's flexing. That car came from the factory with the rear that's in it. You know what I mean? So
Right.
it's kind of crazy, but
Yeah.
car's light and power glide car, and somehow it's made it this far. But
Yeah. Yeah. And one last question before we sign off. What do you do when you're not racing and not working?
working at home. Yeah, I don't know. I don't. I'm always working on race cars. I mean, I got a bunch of project cars. I don't know. I just everything. Everything's pretty much racing or work. I mean, I enjoy working. I go to work. It doesn't feel like work, but
That's awesome.
uh, yeah, at home I'm either working on a race car, uh, going to a racetrack to watch if I'm not racing. I don't know. That's all I do is race, pretty much. So,
Oh yeah. So speaking of that, like, are you the type of person that can go to the racetrack and watch, or absolutely not?
I can, but eventually I'll be like, especially if I see some like bracket racing, I see somebody do something dumb. I'm like, oh my god, like
Yeah.
you know. But
Give me the car.
yeah, but I'm a good spectator. I can watch, especially if it's like cool classes. I like PDRA. That's a race you can go watch all day long, something like that.
Right.
All the different classes. But I
What
definitely
what
like racing more.
what's
But
your favorite PDRA class? Pro
uh,
mod?
I'm pro stock because I
Okay.
grew up. That's my era. All the nostalgia stuff. Rowing gears and stuff like that. When I was a kid, I was the kid in the grandstands rowing gears when the cars went down the racetrack. That was me.
Yeah.
So I love pro stock. Uh, but I definitely like pro mod because the competitiveness and obviously it's faster. But uh, and my favorite class is probably Outlaw 10.5. You know,
Oh, okay.
forever. I love watching 10.5 because when I was a kid, I
Yep.
grew up when 10.5 was huge. And when all the turbo cars, they didn't do wheelies till 300 feet. Then they rode wheelies all the way down the track. That was the coolest thing ever.
Right.
So 10.5 is probably my favorite class. And now, it's starting to get more popular. The last few years, it's starting to come back.
Um, have you ever driven a clutch car, like a pro stock car?
Nope. Nope.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's my favorite class as well. I would love to just once before I kick the
Oh,
bucket, make a full pass down the track.
yeah. I'd
I'll
love
be
to
good.
too.
Yeah.
Let the clutch out and road gears. There's nothing like it. So
Um,
sounds good.
but before we sign off, anybody you want to thank, shout out, how can people find you if they want to get machine work done and things like that?
I'm like, my parents, obviously, they're like my biggest supporters. If I call them right now or, well, they're downstairs. If I go downstairs and say, hey, you want to go testing tomorrow at the track? Doesn't matter what they had planned. They're going to say, yeah, let's go racing. They
Yeah.
like it as much as I do. Obviously, all my family. And then, my girlfriend, Hannah, she's like my biggest supporter. She's always, hey, are you going racing? All right, I'll get the t-shirts ready, or I'll
Yeah,
get this ready. She's in charge of all that stuff. She takes care of all that. She's always on top of it. Uh, you know, everybody's real supportive of me. So
that's
uh,
awesome.
I'm lucky. Uh, and then, you know, that's all we do is race. I
That,
mean, we have other lives, but we like racing.
yeah,
It's
your
vacation
family.
to us.
Yeah, your family's like the best family in racing. Like anything, anything anyone needs, they're willing to help. Um, I remember I think it was at Bud's Creek. I was carrying a jug of fuel, and your mom saw I was carrying, like, I was walking, with the jug of fuel
Yeah,
because I didn't bring my golf cart or anything. And she's like, "What are you doing walking? Like, let me get
yeah,
my golf cart." And then she like took me back to my pit or whatever.
yeah.
But yeah, she's like yelling at me like, "What are you doing walking?"
That's if we show up with our stacker trailer, we have everything in there. We've welded so many headers, we've welded cars back together, everything. We've done so much. If we have the white trailer, everybody's coming to us. They know we have it in the trailer to help them.
Right.
So it's pretty cool. We've helped a lot of people, and then they end up beating us. So it's kind of like, well, dang it. But we'll do it in a heartbeat. So
Ricky said, "Mom runs that program." Oh yeah, she does. Yeah, she does. Billy said, "Lewis, help me build my GT 500, and I'll let you throw gears down the track. If you're building a pro stock car, Billy, I'm down.
yeah,
But street cars are not as fun as race cars, in my opinion. But help Jared get some ET," Ricky said. Oh man. Well, that was fun, guys. Thank you so much, Pat, for coming on.
yep. Thank you.
Tune in next week, 7 p.m. You guys know the deal. But this was great. I found out a lot about you that I didn't know. You know what I mean? I talk to you all the time.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, thank you again. And we'll see you next week.
All right. Thanks for having me.